Hey everyone, welcome back. This is your host Kendall Kennedy, and welcome to Dad Life Real Talk. And today, I think what I'm gonna start doing is every Friday drop what we call a uh, Wisdom Fridays. Um, and Wisdom Fridays is gonna be dropped every Fridays. I'm gonna try to keep it short, short and kind of like to the point. But it may be a little longer than like 10, 15 minutes. But my goal is to kind of keep it short and compact. All right. So the title for today, and probably moving forward, would be Wisdom Fridays, Dad Hacks for Family Chaos, Love and Resilient Kids. So with that being said, let's get into it. So uh, the main component of uh, this, we're just pretty much dropping some wisdom that I've learned over the years as being a husband and father, and some wisdom that has been given to me from other um, fathers as well. All right, so welcome. So today we're going to deep dive into the three pillars of of our daily grind, and the daily grind of being a dad. Right. So we're gonna talk about parenting, marriage, and raising awesome kids. Right. So all our kids are cool. I mean, I like my kids. I'm actually Here's the thing, right? And I tell this to my wife all the time. We've been blessed. Okay. We've been blessed because we got three great kids. Now, I'm not saying, that I like one more than the other, which I do tell each one they're my favorite. I know, guilty. But it's for a reason. So like I tell my oldest, you're my favorite because you're my oldest. I tell my middle child, Naya, you're my favorite because you're my baby girl, which is true. And then I tell my son, yo, my man, you're my favorite because you're my only son. So, but everyone in the house knows I really don't really have a favorite. I love them all equally. Definitely one of those things where, uh, give me a second. Definitely one of those things where just over time it just becomes like a general inside joke. But like I said, we've been blessed with some really great kids. Can't I I can't say much more than that. These kids been they're great. They're respectful. They talk. You look you in the eye. We're working on the shaking the hand aspect, especially with my son. But we're gonna get that down. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. All right. So let's just be real, right? So I'll say let's start off with uh being present, but not perfect, right? Uh I think this is a really important key point that a lot of us miss sometimes is the fact that we try to be perfect for our kids. We try to be perfect for our partner as well. But at the same time, by you trying to be perfect, are you really being present? Which means, for me, being a young dad and things like that, and working a job that I had that was a lot, that was really time restraint. um, you know, I had to make a sacrifice some days, right? And then, don't get me wrong, there was some days, obviously, I just couldn't be there, you know. Yep, I love my mugs. I collect them. So, some days I just couldn't be there, right? And that's going to happen. But for the majority of, especially when my kid was younger, I was there a lot. Um, I would skip my lunch while working. Um, you know, burn through my day just to make it down. 'Cause at the time we was living about 35 minutes away from my job. And at the time, my wife was a stay-at-home mom, so she was able to, transport the kids back and forth to different activities. Both my girls was in dances, so at this time, especially, uh, I would, work through my lunch, burn through my route, just to make it down here, just for practice, right? And a lot of people are like, yo, the kids is going to practice, ain't I'm not really going to try to, break my neck to get there. But for me, it wasn't a point that was just practice. It was a point that when my kids looked up and just, and it was expecting seeing Bobby saw dad there too, you know. And over time, that's just showed them, hey, no matter what it is, dad's always going to be there. There'll be some days where I'll go into work and be like, hey, you know, I'll go up to somebody, hey, you want to run my route? And on that day, one of my kids might have a doctor's appointment. And I may not say nothing to my wife at the time, or I may, this is something that we may discuss the night prior. But for the main part, I might go in and say, hey, can someone run my route? Cool. I got to leave, that early morning. I get to work at 8:30, out of there by 9. Kids appointment like 9:30. Show up, meet them there, and have breakfast. So it's like those little things, and I am, and I tell my kids all the time, I am nowhere near being perfect, nowhere near, and they will tell you, Dad, if he messes up, he will apologize. Because at the same time, I'm also trying to show them that I am human. I make mistakes, and this whole dad thing and husband thing, there ain't no manual to it, right? This is real life, real talk all the time. Got to keep it 100. And I want them to see that because I never want to portray something that I'm not, right? I'm not, and I tell them all the time, I'm not going to be a hypocrite neither when you guys get older, right? When I was younger, I did a bunch of foolish nonsense, right? As a young kid and as a teenager and a young adult. And I'm not going to judge you harshly. But what I will do is tell you my story, everything I have learned, everything I've been through, so you don't go through the same nonsense and shit that I've been through, right? So, and that's also a part about being present, right? Talking to your kids, being real with your kids all the time. The you, I'm not friends with my kids. Like me and my kids got a great relationship. We hang out. Shoot, my oldest will come home and spill all the tea that's going on at school. But there's a boundary of us being parents, and there's a boundary of us, you know, being fun. But at the end of the day, we are parents. you know but again, they know, hey, dad's going to be there, right? When they get home from school, I work 2 jobs currently, but my days off, when they get home, boom, tell me about your day. When I'm at my other second job, at the second part of my day, I call on my 15-minute break. The kids will tell me about the day in between, and then I'll finish up the conversation by talking to my wife. Or if it's one of those days where I love my kids, but me and my wife really had to communicate that much, hey, listen, I love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I would love to hear about your day, but right now I haven't talked to your mom. And my kids know. And this is another thing a lot of us dads have to start doing. I'm not saying this gonna probably come off wrong, but your wife's not perfect, right? But your wife comes above the kids. So, and this also goes with being present, right? So acknowledging that your wife is above the kids, um, and but also letting your kids know in love, like, hey, I love your mom deeply, and your mom comes first. And that's what my kids understand. Like, when I tell my kids, hey, I love to hear about your day, but let me talk to your mom, they don't take offense to it, because all they know is, all right, mom comes first. Especially if mom having a rough day or whatnot, I'm going to talk to my wife. And a lot of times when I get home from work, since I don't get home super late, a lot of times they're still up, and they'll come out when I come home. And I usually end up tucking them in at night. They might catch me up on the day, right then and there, which is completely fine. And I'll give them that attention. I'll make eye contact. I'll ask them questions. I'll engage with them. Like, shoot, I know some of the friends' name now and all the nonsense they doing. So they understand that no matter what is happening in my life, whatever I'm doing, work between the 2 jobs, I'm going to make time for them, and I'm going to be present when they need me, right? Um, Also, this is also about me leading by example and active listening, right? No matter what my kids are talking about, I'm listening. Granted, there's gonna be some days where I'm gonna be buried in my phone, not really paying attention. I'm human, right? Or I might be watching TV, might be playing a game, or I might be doing something. I'm just preoccupied. And a lot of times, if I am preoccupied with something else while the kids are talking to me, and or my wife, I will catch myself. And or obviously, the wife will say, "Hey, you're on your phone. You're not paying attention." I'll acknowledge that. I'm sorry. Let me put this down. And a lot of times, I'll take my phone from where I'm sitting, and I'll just throw it on the other couch. Just throw it. Yink. So now it's out of my hands, right? I'm not going to be tempted to even snag it. So now I can fully engage with my wife. Sometimes that's what I have to do. Sometimes I just put it down to the side. But if it's like just one of them days where I'm just like in a funk, I'll purposely throw it out of sight so I can fully engage with my wife and or kids if that's the situation at the time, right? But also, again, this is leading by example, right? Being the head of the house, my kids see how I move. They see how I delegate time with their mom and with them as collective, and then with them individually, and how everyone has an access to that, right? Always, there's never a moment where they have to second guess and say, hey, dad's not around. There have been times where they come home from school and they're like, hey, dad, I have a field trip. Boom, here you go. Why? Because they know I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna show up. If I have to request off from work, that's what I'm gonna have to do. You know what I mean? If one of the kids is sick and my wife can't take off that day, guess what? I'm here. You know what I mean? Um, I'm sorry. This show goes to show, as for them when they have a family, sometimes you gotta make sacrifices. But as long as you're present, nothing's gonna beat that. You know. So I'll say, to start off this whole, um, being present and not perfect situation, be authentic, right? Be authentic, and I'll say try 10 minutes of undivided time, right? If you have multiple people in your house, wife and multiple kids, or whatever the case may be, or you slice and dice your time with your children, you know, start off small. Because again, I don't know your schedule, and I don't want you to bite off more than you can chew. This is something that we got to work at, right? So try 10 minutes of undivided time daily, no distractions, and watch how the eyes will start lighting up, right? Knock on the door. Hey, honey, I'm home. You know, is it cool if I come in? Can I, let me hear about your day. What's going to start happening as well, they will start telling you things about what's going on with everybody in the circle, and or whatever's happening. Again, it may take some time that they, depending on your relationship, but they're gonna start unraveling a lot of information to you, and you're gonna start hearing some things, right? And this is how you're gonna start understanding what's happening in your kids' lives and what's happening around them. Like, there's some friends that my daughter's a friend or was friends with that me and my wife snipped in the butt. Hey, yo, hold up, what you say? Cut that off. You know what I mean? So it's a good habit to start doing, and it's also making that connection with you and your children as well as your spouse, right? Same thing when you tuck the kids in bed, whether you're tired or not, take 10, 20 minutes. If again, I don't know your situation, and talk to the missus, talk to the partner, and find out how was the day, right? Um, anything you need to discuss, this is, now you have my undivided attention, and again, just build up on it. All you have to do is be 1% better each day, and watch how things start turning around for you, right? Now, the next topic I want to talk about, a part of this Wisdom Friday, is marriage wisdom, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. I know how cliche that is, but it is very true. Me and my wife, well, in the beginning of our marriage, right, I was not a very communicative person, because from what I saw from my parents' relationship was mom ran everything, dad was super quiet, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So I never got to see a dialogue between husband and wife just on the daily. Now my mom and dad did talk, but it wasn't as communicative that me and my wife are. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to say it. All right, good coffee. All right, so here I'm gonna give you a little hack. All right, this hack is called the communication hack. All right, and it's the 10-minute rule. Each partner shares their day, no interruptions, and it's like a mental hug. All right, so depending how your day is structured, if you come home and you got some downtime, sometimes, while I'm getting changed, hey, honey, let's walk and talk. I'm gonna go in the bedroom to change. Cool. And I'll lay in the bed, watch you getting changed. You know what I mean? And she'll tell me about her day. Right. Or vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, while I'm getting ready, I'll tell her about my day. And or when I go home from work, that's our time to really deep dive. While I'm cooking my dinner, or she's warming up my dinner or whatnot, I may be in the kitchen with her, and this is our time to kind of start talking about the things that happen in our day. And again, that's going to build a stronger bond between you and your partner, and also let them know that you are here, you are listening, and you are engaged in everything that they're doing within their lives, right? And you also giving them empathy, right? If they're having a rough day, you understand it, right? This is also where you can start picking up cues as a husband and father. Hey, you know, On certain days, when my wife has this, my partner has this meeting, right? Um, they're super stressed when you get home. Maybe I can start pitching in where I fit in, right? Maybe I start picking up the laundry a little more. Maybe I'll run the laundry, or maybe I'll come up with ideas for dinner, right? If you got a crock pot, right? It ain't a thing but to put it together for them, right? Say, hey, honey, don't worry about dinner. I'm gonna throw it in the crock pot. So by the time you get home with the kids, it's done. You'll be amazed how much that will help them mentally and just overall, right? And I know for me personally, what I saw doing for my wife is, um, again, like I told you, I'm not really a touchy feely person, but for my family, I can be that. So I would give her a, I guess like a bear hug, but kind of like scoop, and just hug them, right? Just hug them for like 2 to 3 minutes, and you literally just feel the body melt, right? And some days we don't even talk about our day. Some days, sometimes it's just one of those days where everything's just so draining, right? And you're just happy to be home, happy to see your partner, and just want to be in a presence. And sometimes that's the best communication because that means there's nothing to talk about. You guys is just happy to be together, right? Um, Appreciation ritual. Simple things can go a long way. Thanks for handling bedtime. Oh, thanks for getting the mail today. Thanks for picking that up for me. Just something simple. But also, what I've noticed too is I do this with everybody in my house, from the wife to the kids. Hey, I appreciate you for X, Y, Z. Hey, I appreciate you. Especially when I got Crohn's disease. So when I get my flare ups and I'm super down, I make sure, especially 'cause that's around the time where my wife has to do everything in the house, top down. There's no help. I am not moving from this couch, right? I am sick. I can't move. I'm losing weight. I'm just laying there. But I'll say, if not every day, at least 5 days out of 7 days, I am giving my wife her flowers for everything she's doing for our family, and I make it known, and I tell the kids this too, because my wife is a very organized person. I am not. Okay, so if it was left up to me, y'all, half the stuff wouldn't be happening, right, without your mom. And I'll tell my wife, you're an amazing person, and from the bottom of my heart, I am very, very happy I married you. You know what I mean? Because yeah, there might be other beautiful women out there, but what can they bring to the table, right? Me and her been together for about 12 years, 11 years married. We 10 toes in this game, right? And so, what can they offer me that she's not already doing? Exactly. So, I'm cool off that, but giving appreciation will also give them some form of what do you call that? Security as well. There we go, security. But also reciprocate that appreciation, right? Hey, I appreciate everything you're doing for me. Now, is there anything I can do for you that can help you throughout your day? You know, Sometimes you might have to have that conversation, like, hey, how my day's booked. So, like, give me something that is going to help you out, but also that I can fit into my schedule. Got to work as a team there. All right, and also, last but not least, what a lot of people do forget is date nights. All right, this is very important. Very important, because a lot of people feel as if once you get married, right, that's it. I got you, hook, line, reel. But it's much easier to go sweet talk yourself to somebody else out there in the streets than to love one person a million different ways, right? Because the first year you all get married, everything can be cool, and chill. By year 5, both y'all have changed, right? Because in a marriage, one thing for sure, when you get to the altar, you're supposed to die to yourself. Everyone forgets that. That's what an altar is ultimately made for, right? In ancient times, altars, what they do, they slaughter things, right? So when we get to the altar to get married, die to self, right? And so by dying to self, you you pretty much, how can I put it? You're sacrificing yourself for your partner. right? So you gotta get out your comfort zone and things like that. A lot of people don't want to get out their comfort zone. A lot of people want to do something different. I like, for example, I don't eat chocolate. That's just something I just don't do. Now, my wife makes these chocolate covered donuts off the rip. I'm eating them, right? What people have to realize is when it comes to uh, making the team work, right? You have to set time aside for yourselves to understand marriage is a dance. All right, a dance. Both y'all can't have two left feet, right? And in order not to have left feet, y'all have to know how each other operates. Prime example. At this point in my relationship with my wife, I can tell you right now, if we had $1 million, and I'm like, here's $1 million, go buy me a car, go buy me a house, and buy me some clothes, and buy me XYZ. She wouldn't even have to ask me what I like and what my style is. She can move us into the house. I wouldn't be upset because I know it'll have everything I want and need, and vice versa. But we've been doing this dance, and we have stepped on each other's feet multiple times to get to this point. And at this point in our relationship, we don't really argue. When we feel like we both are getting to that point, I love you, we'll walk away. If depending how big that point is, you know, we'll come back together, and I might start messing with her, being goofy, and that's how we know we just chill, right? And then we'll lightly talk about it, depending on what it is. Like, hey, you know what? You were stripping. You know what I mean? The way you said XYZ really bothered me. But again, we date each other. You know, we'll watch a movie together. The last week we watched Gladiator 1 and 2. Something that she's not really a blood and gore kind of person, but I am, and I wanted to watch Gladiator 2, and she wanted to watch it, right? Because that's something I like. Cool. Date night. Now we have something to talk about. Now we can grow from that. You know what I mean? Like she wants to do like the painting thing. I don't paint. I'm not artistic, but my baby want to do it. That's what we're gonna do. And while we're doing it, we're gonna have a conversation about life and whatever. Right? We just enjoy each other's company. But you want to make sure you prioritize date night, whether you have a sitter or not. Put them stinking kids to bed. Right? If you play board games, get some board games. If you got a PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, find a game that your wife may want to play with you. I downloaded Overcooked for my wife, and I downloaded It Takes Two. Now we play video games together. It may not be Call of Duty. That's cool with me, but sooner or later she's gonna want to try it. You know what I mean? So you have to make that time, and you have to let the other person know, hey, you're important to me, so I'm gonna make sure I spend enough time with you and make time for you, whether we have a babysitter or not. Whether the date is only 5 to 10, 15 minutes, because right now you have younger kids and you gotta be more involved, or whatever the situation may be. You gotta make time. A date night don't have to be a 7 hour thing. It could be a 1 hour thing while the kid's taking a nap. You know what I mean? Or the DoorDash. You know what I mean? Watch a quick show while the kids are taking a power nap. I don't know. But that's for y'all to sit down and have that conversation for. All right. Now, last but not least, for the children, right? Raising kids and building resilience in heart. All right. Let me take another sip. I'm not gonna lie. This is probably one of my favorite bugs. Definitely one of my favorite mugs. All right. All right. So first thing I want to talk about is let these little kids fail. Kids, if you do everything for your children because you love them, you set them up for failure. You gotta let them fail. Gotta let them fail. Um, so my son, I would say even when he was a baby, he used to do parkour on the couches all the time, but he always set it up safely, so I never got mad. I just let him do it. But I'm not arguing with you, my boy. He had the pillows on the floor, in case he fall off the couch. He moved the tables out. Like he would just go ham, cool. But when he started playing video games, this is where he really had a hard time because he had to figure it out. So he's playing like Batman and things like that. Hey, Dad, I need your help. No, you don't. No, you don't. You gotta figure it out. If it gets too hard, turn off the game, go back to it and figure it out. You know, boom. It took this man like 20 minutes to figure out the part. Now he's rolling through the game, right? Same thing for when we was playing Fortnite for the first time, right? He shoot, he was all up and down, okay, all up and down, everywhere. Couldn't aim the thing for nothing, right? I had to come save him. Every game we played, it was me. When we got the dubs, it was me, right? But now he's carrying me on his back. And listen, ain't no shame in my game. Go ahead, run point, boy. I'll be right back here. You know what I mean? Go ahead and do your thing. But yeah, you gotta let your kids fail. All right. You have to let them fail because if they grow up thinking everything's gonna be done for them or everything's easy peasy and you get to the real world and you're no longer here, it's gonna be a shock to them and they ain't gonna be able to change because now they're stuck in their ways. They're going to have to figure out, hey, I got to dust my shoes off, pick myself up, and figure this out. If the circle don't fit in the square, there got to be a square around here somewhere. I just got to locate it. You know what I mean? So let your kids fail, but also guide them and talk to them and let them understand why they failed. Failure is not a bad thing, but when you stop, that's when it becomes a bad thing. Okay? Teach the kids empathy. Volunteer together as a unit. So my kids love volunteering, and they want to like sure serve the community. So they always had this desire, and now that they're getting older, I think I'm gonna wait maybe like 2 more years. I'm gonna wait till my son's about 9 to start doing so. Um, but we gonna start serving our community, whether it's giving out foods and things like that. But I mean, even at their own school, they got some friends that are underprivileged. So for the holidays, they came home and said, "Hey, is it okay if we buy so and so a Christmas gift?" And we did that. You know what I mean? But they're starting to understand empathy, and it is a beautiful thing to watch. And I love the fact that my kids are still innocent in the sense of like still like thinking kitty. They don't have cell phones, don't have Instagram, don't have TikTok, none of that. Now they do get screen time, but it's mainly just watching like the TV and Netflix and Disney. But they're not doing like the dances on TikTok and things like that. So they still have an innocent mindset to a certain extent, right? So watching them understand people and understand that hey, not everybody is blessed, and it's my due diligence as a human being to be nice to everybody and to help them out when I can. It's a beautiful thing to watch and adapt as they grow. Keep this in mind. And I just talked to one of my coworkers about this recently, and to be honest, it's a hard thing to swallow. It really is, and I never understood it. My mom passed away back in August of 2021, and prior to her passing, we talked on the phone constantly, daily. We wasn't like a holiday relationship. We talked every day. We lived 10 minutes away from each other, so I popped in and whatnot. And one day, I think my son may have been like 2. I can't remember the age gap. But what I do know, there was about if my oldest was about 5, they was about 5 and under. And we had this conversation where she always said like you'll always be my baby. It's hard for me not to see you as my baby. I was the baby of the family, right? Just me and my older brother. And so when she's saying it, I'm like, I'm not really understanding what she's saying at the time. Even though I have my own kids, I'm looking at them like at the moment the children. And then my oldest one day, I think she was about 8 or 9, and me and my wife was just in the kitchen just talking about how we're about to have a 10-year old, right? Like how close she is to 10 years, 10 years of age or whatnot. And then it hit me as I stood there and looked at my oldest. You know, in my mind, I took a snapshot when she was like 3, and forever, no matter how old she is or how old she gets, whether she's married, have kids, becomes a grandma, a great grandmother, and a great great grandma, right? In my mind, I'm always going to picture her as that little 3-year old. For my son, same way. When he was like 1.5, 2, and then for my middle, probably more like when she was almost like a baby, right? Mentally, that's how I see them, right? But obviously, I know they're this old, and I'm raising them and teaching them and disciplining them at the proper age that they are. But it's like you're parenting, and you got to catch yourself like, you know what, you're 10. W- Let me back up real quick. You know what I mean? So you wanna adapt as they grow, right? You can't baby them the whole life, is what I'm trying to say, right? So you're parenting a toddler, you discipline them a toddler way, and you teach them toddler things. Now, parenting as a teenager and preteen, that's a little different, right? That looks completely different than parenting a toddler. Now you have to adjust, right? Now there got to be consequences to your actions, right? For me, I tell my kids all the time, like, yo, if you keep continuing down this path, this is what's going to happen, right? And even when they was younger, I used to explain to them in depth, like, hey, especially about your emotions. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be angry. But what you do with that emotion is how you get yourself in trouble. Simple as that. Because in my house, you're never getting in trouble feeling the way you feel. Never. Okay. Um, and I don't even think I lecture my kids. I think we honestly just talk to them just about everything. Like one day, my oldest got in the car. She was 9. Yeah, she was 9. So we homeschooled them for a couple years, up until they was 8 and 9. Um, she in the car, and when her classmate was talking about sex, so she get in the car and she's like, "Mom, Dad, what's sex?" And because we have a because we already have a relationship with our kids, and a great communication, me and my wife looked at each other and was like, "I guess now it's time to have this conversation." Right? Because it was just her in the car. The other two was at school for something else. I forget what it was. I think it was in school for like tutoring or something. So we was like, now's the time. So we explained the whole sex talk. It's like, it's better for you to learn from us than learn from your little friends that don't know nothing about nothing. Right? They can barely tell you what's one plus one. Right? But now they know that the curiosity out of it, they understand it. Boom. Um, so we had to adjust, right? Because she's still a kid, yes, but we had to explain to her the way that she can understand, but also, as her parents, you know, we had as a moment we had to understand, at this moment she is a preteen. She's in a few short years she's going to have her period. You know what I mean? Like, there's gonna be some things that we're gonna have to discuss. Now, granted, my wife already talked to him about that when they was younger. To start getting them, mentally prepared for it, because, whew, when that does happen, it's gonna be a nightmare. Um, but again, even when we had that talk, I even told him, like, hey, listen, I'm always gonna be here. So you call me, text me, whatever you need. I'll run to the store, grab your tampons, your pads, whatever y'all need. But your mom is definitely the person you need to talk to about this, because obviously she's been doing this her whole life. Me personally, I'm just buying the supplies you need, But this is not something I'm afraid to talk about. This is nothing I don't feel comfortable doing for you. You understand what I'm saying? So even though I view them as my babies, you know, I have to remind myself, yes, they are my babies. Yes, I still see them as my babies, but these are human beings, and I gotta raise them as such, and I have to, um, keep leveling them up like a video game. You gain this much experience, boom. Now you can level up to this experience. So just one of the things you have to keep in mind, right? Whew, man. I said this is going to be a short one, and we're for 33 minutes. That's funny. All right, so just a recap for today, right? So today we lean into what into being present, nurturing your marriage team, and raising resilient kids. Remember, it's progress, not perfection. And one thing I want to leave out with, from the great words of your great philosophy, Nipsey Hussle. Um, he said, kids spell love, Time. If that's not a bar, that's a bar. Same thing goes with your partner. They spell love, Time. Now, granted, there's going to be some love languages, things like that. But for the majority of people, Time is how they spell love. So keep that in mind. All right. Now, again, be 1% better than you was yesterday. Be conscious of doing one thing better. And again, start off small and build upon it. All right. And again, this is your boy Kendall Kennedy, your host for the Dad Life Real Life. Appreciate you stopping in to listen to the podcast. Again, go ahead and leave a review on Spotify and Apple, and I believe I am on Amazon as well. So if you could drop me a review, some comments, all the lovely things, I appreciate it. And let's do this, guys. All right, you're not alone. We're our community, and let's do this thing together. All right, y'all be good. Peace.